Testing, testing, one, two, three. Says here that we're live. So happy to be here live with all of you. I'll go ahead and give, give everybody an opportunity to join on in. Well, first and foremost, welcome. If you are already here, so happy to have you. And if you're not, well, looking forward to having you tune in as soon as possible. I'm just going to go ahead and do some quick setup things here, make sure that everything is ready to go, and just to do some troubleshooting. So it looks like presentation is ready, lighting is good, and we are ready to go ahead and get started. So, first and foremost, welcome. Welcome to tonight's workshop. My name is Mauro Schiavo, and I'm from Crusader Coaching. And if this is your first time here, then welcome. Tonight we have a very exciting topic and a very exciting opportunity for you in order to grow and really enjoy life and enjoy your personal abilities that you have that are creative. So tonight we have a very exciting lineup. We have a great workshop created for each and every single one of you who have tuned in tonight. And before I get there, I want to go ahead and point out that if you haven't noticed already, you'll see down below in the video description, you'll notice that there are a couple of links. And the two links that are there are actually one, a link for the presentation slides. So I created a full presentation using Microsoft PowerPoint, and those slides are available for you to download right now if you want to go ahead and use those slides as a tool to help you follow along throughout the presentation. And the second link is actually a workbook that my partner and I created in order for you to take what we've gone through tonight and apply it into the real world. So in that workbook, you'll find a series of great questions to help you think and process how you can improve your natural creativity and take it into the real world. And also, you'll notice that there are a series of exercises as well that will help you execute whatever creative endeavors that you may have. Very thought provoking exercises. So, if you haven't done so already, I encourage you to take a look at the show notes and go ahead and download those things if you're watching on the computer. If you're watching on your phone or mobile device, no problem. After the video is done, you can also access those tools as well because they will be there after the workshop is over. So, on that note, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead here and pull up the presentation, make sure we're on the first slide. So, tonight's presentation is all about you. Tonight's presentation and this workshop is about your unique superpowers and your abilities that you have as a superhero in your own life. And I'm talking about your superpower of creation and how you can make your very own masterpiece in your life. So, on that note, I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about how this workshop is going to work for you. So, your life happens outside of this workshop. Your life happens when this workshop is over. So, my mission tonight and your mission tonight, I'm going to give you a strong call to action. Your mission tonight is to take anything that you gain from this workshop and apply it into the real world, because our workshops are designed to be transformational and not informational. We want you to have real world change and growth, both personally and professionally. So, my call to action for you is to play full out tonight. Use your workbooks, use the presentation slides, both here and after, so that way you can get the most out of this time that you've invested into yourself tonight, because tonight is an investment. So, if this is your first time here, or if you have already joined us before, you know how it works. So we're so happy to have you here. And on that note, let's go ahead and get started. So today's workshop is divided into three main phases. Phase one, we're going to talk about how you can embrace your natural creativity. Phase two is going to talk about how you can improve your ability to create. And in phase three, we're going to go over a question and answer period as well as an open discussion. We already have a couple of questions that people have asked us before the workshop. So if you want to go ahead, if at any point during the workshop you have a question, you can go ahead and write it in the comments, and we'll go ahead and we'll take care of that during the Q&A portion. So save your questions, write them down. I'll see them here, and then we'll go ahead and we'll answer them live as well. And also stay tuned, because at the end we're going to talk about future content and what we're going to be doing in the future in the month of August. So let's go ahead and just dive right in. So I want you to be intentional. So right now, if you haven't done so already, I want you to take a look at every area of your life, and I want you to ask yourself, what creative projects do you have right now? And if you don't have any, what creative projects would you like to work on? And whatever projects you have, I want you to use that as the baseline for what we go through today together. And a very simple question to get you started is, what do you want to create in your life? So, do you want to create better health habits? Do you want to create a new business? Do you want to create a new career? Do you want to create a new relationship? Do you want to improve your friendships? Do you want to create a new hobby? Do you want to create a new routine when it comes to your spiritual life? Whatever that may be, I want you to go ahead and write that down right now. So whatever new habits or new things you want to create in your life, the best time to write it is right now. So that way, as we go through the workshop, you can see and you can connect the dots. So that way you'll be able to really get the most out of your time invested tonight. So just to give you a quick run through, remember, nothing is off the table. So your health, your career, your family, your friends, your relationships, whatever hobbies you may have, your emotional health, your spiritual life, anything that you want to improve on or create in your life right now, go ahead and write it down so that way you can tackle it as we go through. Okay, so I'll give you a couple more seconds and then we'll go ahead and we'll dive into phase one. All right, so phase one, embracing your natural creativity. Okay, so believe it or not, you are naturally creative. And I want to go ahead and just make a very quick distinction and define what creativity actually is. So, according to Merriam-Webster, creativity is defined as the use of the imagination. That's it. The ability to use your imagination means that you are already creative. And it says here, especially in the production of an artistic work. Now, here's the thing. Your life is a canvas, and you are the artist. It doesn't matter if you paint. It doesn't matter if you create anything that has to do with art. You yourself are an artist. You yourself have the ability to take your life, to take your canvas, and create whatever it is that you want to create. You were naturally born a creator. And so you remember that painting that it's in the Sistine Chapel, if not, I'm not mistaken, and it's the creation of Adam. And we see this beautiful rendition of God touching Adam. And here's the thing. The interesting thing is that many historical religious texts say that we are made in the image of our Creator. Well, if that's true, then what does that make us? If we were made in the image of a creator, then that makes us creators as well. I want you to think back to when you were a child. I want to think back to the very first thing that you created. I remember when I was a kid, I used to love playing this silly game with my sister where we both imagined that we were these famous pop star singers. And we would just do these crazy concerts upstairs. It was so funny. And we would have the radio and we pretended that this blanket that we had was kind of like a cape. And I was like this kind of like hero rock star singer. And my sister was kind of like this pop star diva. But even as kids, we understood that we had the ability to create and be whoever we wanted. And as kids, we didn't have any experience. We didn't have any life skills. We didn't have anything. We just had our own creative imagination and we were able to imagine whatever it was that we wanted. And then somewhere along the way, as we started growing up, somewhere along the way, we started losing that feeling of excitement. We started losing that feeling of energy. And as we became adults, we both started realizing, wow, like, what happened to that childlike energy? What happened to that childlike creativity that we had that we just could tap into if we could only tap into that one more time? And that's what kind of created me to make this workshop. Because I asked myself, if I was a kid at the age of 5 and I had the ability to create that persona, if I could imagine myself as a rock star, then what about now with all the skills I have, with my education, with all the time I've spent on developing myself as a professional, as a whatever? And if I can just tap into that energy once again, then who knows what I can create? The very same thing is true for you. When you were a kid, who did you imagine yourself being? Who did you imagine yourself growing into? The good news is that right now you can do that. It's never too late. It doesn't matter what you're up to, what you're doing. You have the ability to create, and you are made in the image of a creator. So, I want you to ask yourself right now, in your life, who do you think of as being creative? Anyone in your life. It could be a personal figure, it could be a family member, a friend, maybe a pop star, an athlete, whatever. But who do you think of as being creative, and what makes them creative? What makes that specific person creative, and how can you emulate that? Now, here's the thing, you don't want to use that as a comparison trap. So, what I mean is, I want you to use that person that you respect or you admire. How can you use their stories or abilities to motivate you? Not to compare yourself to them, but ask yourself, what is it about that person that excites you that you can also help tap into your own innate creativity? So, if any names come to you, go ahead and write them down. Anyone, it doesn't matter who it is. Okay? And once you've done that, ask yourself, what in your life right now are you creating? Good or bad? Because here's the thing, whether you realize it or not, right now in your life, you are creating something. And oftentimes, when we realize that we are the creators in our own life, that we have free will, that we have the ability to create anything we want, good or bad, we can take a decision in that moment and shift. And if any time is the best time to do it, it's right now. Because right now, the hot topic in 2020 is the COVID-19 pandemic. And here's the thing, everyone right now is being affected. So, are you going to use this opportunity to use this crisis to create a new habit? Are you going to use this crisis to create a new routine? Are you going to use this crisis to create that next big breakthrough, that next big career, that next big relationship that you've been waiting for? Right now is the best time to create anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Right now is the best time for you to take advantage, seize the opportunity, and get something going. So, what are you creating in your life right now? What are you creating when it comes to your health? What do you want to create when it comes to your health, to your relationships? It doesn't matter what it is. I want you to write down what you want to create in this moment. There is no better time than right now. And once you've tapped into that natural creativity, I want you to go ahead and save it, because we're going to go ahead and we're going to dive into the second phase. Now, once you've written down what you want to create, once you've written down what you want to work on, we're going to go over a few strategies as to how you can take those projects and actually fit them into your life. Yes, even if your life is crazy busy, there is a way that you can fit it into your life and make it a priority in order for you to create whatever it is that you want to do. Okay, so phase two. So right now, I'm assuming that you've taken the time to write down some creative projects, to write down some creative things that you want to work on in order for them to be improved. And if you haven't done so already, remember that in the video description, in the show notes, you'll find that there is a copy of this presentation of all the PowerPoint slides, and there's also a workbook that you can download and take your creative projects and run them through the interactive exercises and run them through the questions. They're both Google link documents, so you can go ahead and download them after the presentation. So, moving into phase two, improving your creativity. So, I want to talk about the three A's. So, the three A's in order for you to improve your creativity. The three A's are awareness, access, and action. The three A's in order for you to improve your creativity: awareness, access, and action. Now let's go ahead and break down each of those A's one by one. All right, so the first A, awareness. Awareness has to do with your ability to realize, to understand that you already have the infinite wellspring of creative energy inside of you right now. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing that you're missing. That innate creativity, that awareness is already inside of you. All you have to do is be aware of it and tap into it. So I want you to think, I want you to run through your life. Go back to when you were a kid up until now. Think of every single thing that you've created in your life. I want you to think of everything you've created. If it was an art project, if it was a habit, if it was a relationship, if it was a routine, I want you to think of every single thing that you've created, good or bad. Chances are you'd probably be here for a couple of hours, right? Because you've probably created so many things in your life that if you had to write them all down, it would probably take you a lifetime. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not missing creativity. You have that ability because you wouldn't have gotten here tonight to watch this video if you hadn't created something already of value in your life. Whether it was good or bad, there was some value in that thing that you created. So, with that awareness that you can create, because up until now, you've spent your entire life creating something, whether if it's good or bad. So, now with that awareness, what are you going to create next? You have the ability. You've had the ability ever since you were a child. So, ask yourself, what do you want to create now? So, now that you're aware, you are aware that you have this innate ability to create. It's like, look, today I realized as I was creating this presentation and I was kind of modifying it at the end, I became aware of so many things. Because the second that you kind of sit down and you just focus and you just bring awareness to whatever it is that you're doing, all these new ideas pop into your head. And that story of me and my sister that I shared earlier, it occurred to me today. It wasn't planned. So as I became aware of the topic of creativity, more things just started coming into my mind. So right now, anything that comes into your mind, welcome it. Write it down because it might lead you to your next breakthrough. So the first A we talked about is awareness. Now let's move on to the second A. The second A is access. So part of awareness, part of access is in order for you to access something, you have to be aware of it, right? So if I want to open a door, I have to be aware that there's a knob, right? If I want to open a door, I have to be aware that in order to access that door, I need the key. And awareness is the key for access. So you can't have access to your wellspring of creativity if you're not aware of it. So it's very important for you to be aware first. That way you can access it. And that's why it's the second key. So access. So how do I access the source? It's very simple. You just have to be aware that you have the ability to open the door. Once you're aware that you have it, you can go ahead and use it. And my best tip for this, in order for you to improve your ability to access that innate creativity, is for you to just grab a sheet of paper and get to work. If you want to access your creativity, all you got to do is get a sheet of paper and just get to work. Write down whatever it is that you want to create. If it's a goal, write down your goal. There's power. There's power when you take something in your mind and you write it down. Because now you've taken the intangible, which is a thought, and you've made it tangible. You've taken that thought, you put it on paper, and now it's real. So now you can access that thought and play with it. Get to work, make a Venn diagram, just write some bullet points. It doesn't matter what you do, but grab a sheet of paper and just get to work. Just sit down, slow down, and just focus on that next thing that you want to create. And here's the thing, you don't have to do it alone. Get a partner, get a coach. It doesn't matter. Whomever you have in your life that you can trust to sit down with and go through that process, pick their brain, get their feedback. The best thing, hey, they've even said, right? Two heads are better than one, right? So if you sit down with another person, sometimes that wellspring of creativity, that access that you have, now that you're aware of it, can sometimes be multiplied because now you have two windows and you have two people looking through the same magnifying glass and seeing what can come next and come out of it. So to recap, the two A's, we have awareness and we have access. So now let's go ahead and move to the third A. A number three. Ba-dum-ba-ba-bum. So A number three is action. Now here's the thing, right? You're aware of your ability to create. You have access to that wellspring. Well, now the most important thing is with whatever you create in your life, whatever you want to create in your life, action has to happen. You have to create something and then execute it. Okay? Now, I had a coach who told me in the battle of planning versus action, action always wins. Because here's the truth, and this has happened to me, and maybe this has happened to you. I've spent weeks, sometimes, months, sometimes planning things, planning projects, planning ideas, planning whatever. And here's the thing, every single day, week, month that went by that I didn't take action is time gone. I can't get that time back, and neither can you. But here's the thing, sometimes it's good to plan. I'm not saying planning is bad. What I am saying is that you can go through the entire year and you can write down a vision and you can write down a goal and you can write down a plan in January. But then if July comes along and you still haven't taken a teeny tiny step in action, then something's wrong. That means that there's a disconnect between your plan and your execution. So as the artist in your own life, as a creator in your own life, you have to have both vision and strategy. So if you have a vision for your life, but you don't have a strategy, then nothing gets executed, nothing gets done. If you have a strategy, but no vision, you have things to get done, but it's kind of like you're always going in circles. But the most important thing is just getting started. Because if you don't get started, if you don't take action, then it's like standing still in the middle of the road. The other day, I had to pick up a turtle because the turtle got scared. The turtle was in the middle of the road and it didn't know what to do. It didn't know to move forward or move backwards. And there's these cars coming and there's cars coming back and forth. Now, here's the thing. A lot of us live like that turtle. A lot of us live in the middle of the road and cars are walking or driving by and people are passing us by. Opportunities missed left and right, left and right. And we're like turtles hiding in our shell because we don't want to get out. We don't want to get out of our comfort zone. You have to take action. And sometimes you can get somebody else to help you. So you can get someone like me, for example, who picked up that turtle and took him to the side of the road and eventually his head popped out. But the truth is that you don't have to. It's an option, but you don't have to. The turtle could have moved by itself. But are you a turtle right now? Are you stuck in the middle of the road? Or are you moving? Are you progressing? Are you taking the steps necessary? And here's the thing. A lot of times people will put deadlines, and I believe in deadlines. But if anything is causing you anxiety to get started, get rid of that crap. The most important thing is for you to start. It doesn't matter how long it takes, but just get started, get moving, get into action. Whatever it takes for you to move, just do it. Just take a step, get real, execute on your plan, whatever that may be. So, to recap, the three A's that we went over today, we went over awareness, in order to be aware of your creativity. We went over access, tapping into your creativity, and then we went into action. Action is very straightforward, taking action on whatever creative project that you have made in your life. So let's take that and go ahead and move into the second part of our second phase, the second phase of the second phase. So I'm going to talk about the secret formula. Secret formula, what do you mean? Yes, I want to share with you the secret formula for improving your creativity. Now, I don't share this formula with everybody. I only share this formula with a select few individuals. So it's very good that you happen to be here tonight when I happen to be sharing the top super secret formula for improving your creativity. Are you ready for it? Drum roll, please. The secret formula for improving your creativity is as follows: time and attention. That's it. If you want to improve your ability to create in your life, anything, it doesn't matter what it may be, all you have to do is set aside some time and set aside some attention. A coach by the name of Steve Chandler, whom I had the pleasure and the honor to work with, introduced me to this concept of time and attention, and it has changed and revolutionized everything that I do in my life, from personal projects to professional projects. All you need to do is invest a little bit of your time and a little bit of your attention into whatever it is you want to grow. So let's go ahead and take those two elements and let's break them down. So, time sounds obvious, right? All you got to do is put some time into it. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people, when I talk to them about this concept of time, they freak out. They're like, oh my God, Mauro, I don't have time. I have this, I have that, I have this, I have the kids, I have my spouse, I already do this, I already have work. And so people freak out when I talk about time. But here's the thing. I want you to take a look at your calendar, and I want you to get real. I want you to think of all the habits you have right now in your life, from when you wake up to when you go to sleep. All of the things that you pour your heart and your soul into your day. How many of those things truly do you get value out of? Because I'm going to get real with you guys. Honestly, especially now in this pandemic, a lot of opportunities have opened up. A lot of time has opened up. Things that we didn't have to really do before, now we can do them. Now, here's the truth. Even if it was pre-pandemic, you still have the time. The question is, what in your life is a priority? What in your life have you given your attention to? What in your life have you made important? Because if you want to change something in your life, if you want something to grow or to improve, you have to make it a priority. It doesn't matter what it is. And the most important way in order for you to do that is it's very simple. I have this coaching exercise that I call it the Superpower Hour. Okay, now here's the thing. I don't care how busy you are. I don't care how many things you have going on in your life. We all do, right? Because we're all human beings. You have at least 2 hours in your week. Doesn't matter how busy you are. You have 2 hours in your week that you can set aside for a project. And that can be anything. So if you want to start a business, take 2 days out of your week and set aside 1 hour out of those days. And that is going to be your superpower hour, your superpower of creation hour, which you can use for anything that you want. All it takes is 2 1-hour slots. Now, let's do the math. If I start a part-time business, let's say I put in 2 hours a week, and I register my business, I start some like marketing, I start making some contacts, I start doing whatever. Okay, if I take 2 hours every single week, I multiply it by 4. That's 8 hours every month. You multiply that by 12. 8 times 12 is 72. Though those 72 hours will move you so much forward in your life than if you would have never started. A lot of times people don't want to start because they think 2 hours is nothing. In reality, 2 hours is a lot of time. If you take 2 hours out of your week and you specifically focus on something, you'd be surprised how much you can get done, especially when you keep it consistent. Now, I've been doing something called Duolingo. There's an app for learning a language. And one of the things that Duolingo has is it has something that's called a streak system, where it gives you rewards and gives you points if you keep your streak active. And here's the thing, when you create a streak and you keep it going, you don't want to lose a streak. You don't want it to break. So if you get started and you start creating a streak and you start investing your time and energy into a project, it's going to be very hard for you to break that streak, right? For example, in the last 45 days, I've been able to learn how to read and write basic elementary Japanese in just a month because I kept a routine every single day. That's just an example of what can happen when you create a streak. For example, you can create a gym streak. You can create a communication streak. You can create a relationship streak. Or, for example, every single day you create a new routine where you say, I'm going to spend this amount of time with this person, or I'm going to go out with this person, whatever. The point is that when you create a streak and you create a habit, it's much more difficult for you to break it. So what streak can you create in your life with whatever creative project that you want to work on? So that's time. Now, the second thing is attention. So I want you to imagine right now a magnifying glass. Okay, there's a magnifying glass. We have to go through one eye, right? Magnifying glass. Okay. What happens when you use a magnifying glass? Anything that is under the magnifying glass all of a sudden comes into focus and it's bigger. Like, you know how when you look into your rear view mirror, it says objects are actually bigger than what they appear or whatever, something like that. Okay. Attention is a focus booster. Attention is a time multiplier. But how? How can attention be a time multiplier, Mauro? Well, eliminating distractions, increasing your focus, increases productivity. In other words, if you can eliminate any distractions during your time, you can multiply the effectiveness of the time that you invest. For example, if I take my phone right here, okay, one of the best things I like to do with my phone is there's a button. There's a button called Do Not Disturb. You know what happens when you press that button? When you press Do Not Disturb, something magical happens. All of the notifications just poof. They go silent. And I'm no longer distracted. No text, no phone calls, no WhatsApp, no nothing gets through. And when I use that, my productivity shoots up. There have been studies done by both behavioral psychologists and production and time coaches, whatever, that when you increase your focus, you can increase your productivity by up to 5 times. That's a 500% productivity increase. Imagine being 5 times more productive. Imagine being able to get 5 hours of work done in 1 hour because you weren't distracted. That's the power of attention. It sounds too good to be true, right? A little bit. But here's the thing. I've done it. I've taken multi-hour presentations, like 7 or 8 hour presentations. I've condensed them to 2 to 3 hours. 500%? Not always. 2 to 300%? Yes. And guess what? I saved those 5 to 6 hours and I can do whatever the heck I want with it. I can go play a game. I can go see my girlfriend, whatever. The point is that I've taken that time and now I can do more things with it. That's the power of increasing your attention. So if you are complaining about not having enough time in your life to get things done, then how about when you do set time for something, when you do set time to get something done, how about you eliminate distractions? How I like to do that is I set up my office very intentional. You can't see my desk, but on my desk, there is nothing that distracts me. In my room, I have a corner for prayer where I go and pray and I meditate. And when I'm in that corner, I can't see anything. I can't hear anything. No one bothers me. I lock the door. The point is that when I sit down to focus and work, whether if it's personal or professional, my attention shoots up through the roof. And one of the best things that happens is that when you do that, you actually feel better. You actually feel calm. You actually feel excited to work on what you want to work on. So, if you can increase your focus and you can increase your attention, your time invested all of a sudden becomes so much more productive. So, the super formula, the super secret top formula for increasing your ability to create is very simple. It's time invested and it's attention focused. Time and attention focused. That's all it takes in order for you to increase your natural creativity. I want to share a quote that a coach shared with me because a lot of times in our life, right, when we get hung up over the future and anxiety pours in, it's happened to me so many times where I set these goals and I feel like it's insurmountable and it's exciting, but it's scary and it's anxious and I'm nervous and it's like all I have to do, all you have to do is remember one simple thing. If you can master your day, you can master your life. All you have to do is master today. If you can have 3 big wins today and get all those 3 big wins checked off, you've mastered your day. That's all it takes. If you can master your day, you master your week. If you can master your week, then you master your month. If you can master a month, you can master a year. And if you can master a year, then you've mastered your life. But it starts with your day. It starts with how you wake up, how you go to bed, and how you execute your life. You have the ability to choose what you work on. You have the ability to choose what you create. Nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can take away your ability to plan and execute in your life, especially when you put time and attention. Now, I've coached some creative artists. I've coached some DJs. I've coached some musicians, and they say, "But Mauro, but what about the flashes?" And I'm like, "The flashes? Like hot flashes?" Like, "No, Mauro. What about the flashes of creative thunder?" And I'm like, "The flashes of creative thunder?" And it's like, yeah, like all of a sudden one day I'm playing my guitar, and all of a sudden, boom, I get this insight, or boom, I get this song lyric, or boom, I get this idea, and it's amazing. And I'm like, well, wow, that's actually really awesome. That's actually really cool that you get those creative flashes of thunder. And they're like, yeah, 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 yeah. But I'm like, but how often does that happen? And then they're like, face like, it's like, well, I think it happened to me like 3 times. Okay, so you're gonna tell me that bet you're gonna bet your entire career, you're gonna bet your life, you're gonna bet your health, you're gonna bet your relationship, you're gonna bet everything that you have in your life on 3 moments that you don't even know when they're coming. So here's the thing. Yes, creative thunder can happen, and if it does, you welcome it the same way that I welcomed it today with that story about me and my sister that I shared in the beginning. But we can't depend on that day in and day out. We can't depend on metaphysical revelations coming in every single day. What we can depend on is how we create our day. What we can depend on is how much time and how much attention we plan into our every single day, into our everyday life. We can depend on that. And you know what's funny? Oftentimes, when you sit down without distractions and you sit down and you focus, those creative flashes of lightning, of thunder, they actually tend to happen a lot faster. So remember, any creative project you have, any creative spark that you want to focus on in your life, all you got to do is set aside some time and some attention and remember the three A's. The three A's are repeat after me. The three A's are awareness. The second A is what? Access. The third A is what? Who? Action. Combine the three A's with the superpower formula, the super secret, top secret formula of increasing your creation, which is what? Time and attention. You take those five variables and you tap into your natural childlike creativity, and guess what? There is absolutely nothing that you cannot do. Sarah Berkeley, who's the founder of Spanx. Yes, I'm a guy. I know what Spanx is. Spanx, for those of you who are watching who don't know what Spanx is, it's like this special women's underwear that she created, which kind of revolutionized the market. She even said that every single person on this planet has at least $1 million idea. At least $1 million idea. But how many people actually execute it? Remember, the third A, right? Action. You have to take action on whatever project you want to do in your life, whatever it may be. So remember, without action, those $1 million ideas, they never get executed. All right? So remember, you have to take action. And as one of my personal heroes, as one of the people who inspired me most in my life said, and you may know this quote, so if you know it already, then awesome. If you don't, then here it is. If you can dream it, you can do it. And the man who said that was none other than the amazing Walt Disney. Walt Disney, who took a mouse and turned it into a magical experience that creates memories for every single person on this planet, a multi-billion-dollar company, said, if you can dream it, you can do it. And that person that he was talking about was none other than you and me. He wasn't talking about him. He was talking about you and me. We have dreams. We can execute. We are no different than Walt Disney, and Walt Disney was no different than us. So if he can do it, so can us. So now what? So now what do we do, Morrow? Well, you act. You pull out your calendar right now. If you have a Google Calendar on your phone, if you have a calendar on your computer, if you have a calendar like I do right there in the back, you pull out your calendar and you make it real. And you create a 90-day action plan. That's all you got to do. Take a look at the next 90 days in your life and put a reminder on your phone. Put a reminder on your computer 90 days from now and check in with yourself. Whatever creative project you wrote down during this workshop, check in with yourself and ask yourself one simple question. Am I making progress in this? Yes or no? If in 90 days you haven't made progress, then you have to reevaluate and you have to retake simple action. Because if you have 90 days go by and you don't even take one simple step, then something's wrong. So pull out your calendar right now on your phone, this $1,000 device that's probably overpriced, okay? You pull out your phone and you write down on your calendar and you make it real and you ask yourself, have I made progress on my projects? Have I taken this project to the next level? If you haven't, then you got to do it right now. And if you have, then great. Remember, action is overrated. Action is underrated because at the end of the day, what creates results? Action. All you got to do is take action. So remember, pull out that calendar. You can make 3 daily wins. You can make 1 daily win for the next 90 days. It doesn't matter how you do it. What matters is that you take action. And remember that we have a workbook that you can download that also has some exercises that you may find valuable in order to help you take your project to the next level. So on that note, I want to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to thank you so much for those of you who have attended the workshop. Right now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go into the Q&A portion where we answer some questions that some people asked us. So if you have any questions right now and you want to go ahead and write them down in the comments, Feel free to write down any questions you may have, and we will answer them live on the air. But first, I'm going to go ahead and answer these questions that were already sent to me. And it's 2 questions, so it shouldn't take too long. So if you have any questions, if you have anything you want to ask, go ahead and write them now. So, question number 1. Anonymous asks, all right, how do I wake up earlier and create consistency in my life instead of going, these are her words, instead of going 10,000% in spurts and then being exhausted in between? That's a very great question. So I'm going to answer your question with a few questions of my own. Number 1, what routine do you currently have in place when you wake up? Because whether you realize it or not, you have a routine that's already in place. One of the best things that you can do is automate your morning and make it something to look forward to. So if you have trouble waking up early, chances are there's probably a lack of motivation or something that you're not looking forward to. So what can you create in your morning that's something that you want to look forward to waking up? That's one of the best ways. You create a simple routine. For example, my routine is when I wake up, I get up, I brush my teeth, and I pull out my phone and I listen to a podcast, or I listen to some Bible readings, or I listen to something that motivates me, that gets me excited for the day. And once I listen to that, my entire energy and my mood shifts. It's super simple. It doesn't have to be anything complicated, but you have to have some sort of routine that you look forward to when you wake up in the morning. Okay? And then, second question, what is your bedtime deadline? So if you want to wake up, for example, at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning and you're going to bed at 1 or 2, can you do that for a few nights? Sure. Is that something sustainable? No, it's not sustainable. So you have to be like a kid. And here's the funny thing, right? If you're a parent, then you do this for your kids all the time. You give them a bedtime. You actually give your kids probably a better routine than you have yourself. And here's the thing, as adults, if we want to be productive, if we want to really live life to the fullest, we kind of have to have a routine. So what's your bedtime deadline? What's the time that you're going to set that you can absolutely not cross if you want to wake up earlier? So create a bedtime deadline. And then third question, probably super important. Okay, and I wrote it down here. I'm going to read it out loud. What is the personal value for you if you woke up earlier? And what would you do with that extra time? So a lot of times people want to wake up earlier, but for what? Like what's the value for you? So if you woke up earlier, then what does that mean for you? What would you do with that extra time? How would you grow? How would you be better? If you can connect your earlier wake up time to the purpose that you wake up earlier for, it's much easier to wake up if you already have a purpose that's lined up. So, and then ask yourself in your life, other than changing your bedtime, what would you have to change right now in order for you to wake up earlier? So, what would you have to change in your life in order to basically guarantee that you wake up earlier? So, if you're finding yourself getting exhausted in your life and not being consistent, it's because there's a routine that's lacking. If you can create a routine that is going to motivate you, if you can create a routine that you can get to bed earlier, and if you can create a routine that is very clear and purpose oriented, you'll find it much better and much easier to wake up. So thank you, Anonymous, for answering that question, and I really do hope that it has a lot of value for you. Okay, so second question here. Laura asks, what tips can you offer on how to overcome negative thoughts anytime that I wish to create or change something in my life in order to become more productive? So other than the tips and strategies that we went over today, I think I want to ask you, what are the negative thoughts? And you don't have to share them. You can keep them to yourself. But I want you to write down what all those negative thoughts are, and I want you to ask yourself, well, what are these negative thoughts coming from? Why are they happening? Because a lot of times when we have negative thoughts, the first thing we want to do is we want to expel them, right? We want to take that negative thought and want to kick it out of our mind and want to pretend that it doesn't exist. But when we do that, oftentimes those negative thoughts, they take root and they actually become stronger. So one of the best things you can do with negative thoughts is actually acknowledge them. Acknowledge that you're having that thought and write it down. Once you take a negative thought, remember we talked about the power of writing things down earlier? Once you take a negative thought, you write it down on a sheet of paper. Now it's something that you can play with. Now it's something that you can tackle. And once it's on paper, it's a neutral object where you can either A, choose to fight it, or B, completely ignore it. But as long as you write it down, it's a way for you to kind of take a look at how you can tackle it. So negative thoughts sometimes, believe it or not, actually have value. Because, for example, I'll share with you a negative thought that I had. So when I was thinking about doing more, I guess, online content like I'm doing right now, one of the negative thoughts that I had for myself was, man, like, I'm going to have to go through that entire process. I'm going to have to go through getting subscribers. I'm going to have to go through e-marketing and all that stuff that I don't want to do, you know? And it's like all these negative things, like, do I really want to do that? Do I really want to spend months of my time going through that process? And I told myself, you know what? Maybe I do. Because what's the benefit of online content? What's the benefit of that marketing process that I don't enjoy? Well, number one, it scales quicker. So I can get somewhere faster. Number two, I get a wider audience. So more people watch. And number three, it gives me a platform to create more content that I can't do in person. So those negative thoughts that I had about expanding my business online all of a sudden turned into something positive. But I would have never gotten to that conclusion if I hadn't written down that thing. So remember, any negative thing that you may have in your life, remember, you can turn it into a positive and you can actually turn it into something better. So negative thoughts, when they show up, don't ignore them, play with them, and see what you come up with. Because you never know. Maybe it's something good, or maybe it's actually preventing you from taking a bad step. A lot of times we have thoughts, and they might actually be thoughts of protection sometimes. So don't immediately dismiss your thoughts. Write them down and see what is the light side or the dark side to each of those things. It's a light. I call this exercise the light side, dark side. Any thought that you have, good or bad, write down what's the light side of that thought and then what's the dark side of that thought. Because whatever perspective has a benefit and has a negative to it. So, for example, somebody who's a go-getter, the benefit to a go-getter is that they get things done and they get things done quickly. The negative thing to sometimes being a go-getter is that you can be brash and you can change direction too quickly and never really take root in a project. That's happened to me many times. So any quality that you have has a dark side and it has a light side too. So take that thought, write down what the positives are and write down what the negatives are. And that will be a very good exercise in order for you to take that negative thought and challenge it. Challenge the thought, write it down, make it real. So I hope that was beneficial and I hope that had value for you. So I can see here that we more or less wrapped up the Q&A discussion. So I just wanted to very quickly talk about a couple of things that we got coming up. So in 2 weeks, we're going to start a new podcast, which is titled The Superpower of Communication. And we're going to have the podcast right here on YouTube and on Spotify. So it's going to be a 2-part podcast. Part 1 is going to be on August 4th. Part 2 is going to be on August 11th. So remember, the Superpower of Communication podcast, we're going to talk about how you can improve your communication in your personal and your professional life. And next month, we're actually going to do the Superpower of Communication workshop, just like tonight, where we take the entire concept, we dive in really deep, and we create a lot of value as to how you can improve your personal and professional life by improving your communication. That workshop is going to be August 18th at 7:30 p.m. right here on YouTube as well on the Crusader Coaching channel. Same place, same time. All right, so those are the 3 things that we have coming up. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Special thank you to our sponsors who help make our content possible and help make this content available to you for free. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, please like, comment, subscribe, and if this had value for you, share it. Share this content. One of our big missions for 2020 is to get to 1,000 subscribers. We want to get to 1,000 subscribers so that way we can create our content and have it go worldwide. So please go ahead and do that if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much. I hope that this content was valuable for you, and I hope that you got some good things. Now, the most important thing is right now I want you to go into the real world, go create, take action, use the workbook, use the slides for reference, and get that next project in your life done. Until next time, everyone, stay strong and take care. I'll see you in a month. Bye-bye.